Hey, fantastic. Todd's not going to be in this one. Oh, hold your breath. Here I am. Hey guys, Todd, the cheap drums guy. So I switched out my Premier kit, put it away along the wall with the other kits, and I broke out my little Sound Percussion Lab kit, little 4-piece kit. This is how it came when I initially bought it. It's just a 4-piece, 13 by 5 snare, 12 by 8 rack tom, and a 14 by 14 floor tom with a 20 by 16 bass. Absolutely fantastic, neat little kit. My playing got kind of stagnant. What I mean by that is I've been playing the same stuff without change. The same 20, 25 songs with the same bands and whatnot. And I really wasn't learning anything. And I wasn't progressing at all. And so I thought I would just strip it down to the basic. This is the first time I set up this kit in its initial form. Usually I have the extras added to it and whatnot. But I wanted to keep it simple because that's going to force me to be more creative and force me to come up with new fills on the fly to replace the ones from the songs. And usually I had more toms to do it, but now I only have 2 toms. But I also have the bass and the snare to kind of, and even add the cymbals in too to help out the fills. And so I'm hoping, well, I have no doubt, but I'm hoping it's going to help me a little bit. Once I become more creative with the little kit, then I could take that and use it with the big kits too. So I'm trying that too to help myself out. Plus, instead of the same music by the same artists, I'm going to branch out and a little more stuff like Boston and Molly Hatchet and try that out and see what I can do. And hopefully I'll pick up a lot more. And practice, practice, practice. It never ends. But that's what's going on with me this weekend. That and not raking leaves, but blowing the leaves and maybe mowing the lawn one more time. I already set all the Halloween stuff up out there, and the little kids are coming Monday. Yay. But that means I get more candy because the kids don't get the good stuff. I swipe the good stuff and give the kids the crap. Little moochers. I had a full-time job when I was their age. But that's what's going on with me down here. And I'm going to throw another little story in for you. Now, when I did the one story about the wild German boar hogs, I said there was 2 stories regarding the pigs, and this is the second story. Now, when stationed in West Germany, every year, usually starting in the fall, you have to go do 2 training events. Each one of these events lasts about a month. So you're actually training in the fall for about 2 months. The first place you go to is what place we call Grafenwehr, or just Graf. That's where you go. You ship all your equipment down via the train, and taking a train in Germany at the time was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely beautiful trip. The Germans are great people. You meet a lot along the way. But you ship all your stuff down to Graf, and you unload it down there. But you pretty much just stash it away in a motor pool. And all the motor pools were stuck off in the woods in different places with big chain link fences around it. But Graf's where you did all your weapons training, your pistol, rifle, machine gun, anti-tank weapon, and main tank crew served weapons. And the other place you went to in Germany after Grafenwehr was Hohenfels, which was the Combat Maneuver Training Center. And that's where you would do tank on tank and all your this unit against that unit out in the woods. And we're both down in Bavaria, that's where I actually learned that a cuckoo was a real bird. I just thought it was, since a kid, just, whatever. But down there, when you wake up out in the field, you hear cuckoos. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I was dumb and naive. I didn't know anything. I was only in my early 20s. But anyways, so from Hanau, West Germany, at the time, we shipped our stuff on the railhead all the way down to Grafenwehr, parked it in the motor pool. And Graf was nice because you got to stay in barracks and there was a snack bar and whatnot and all sorts of cool stuff. You'd run into foreign soldiers. Well, since I live in northern Michigan, it's not really foreign, but Canadian soldiers also. Met members of the Royal Canadian Horse Artillery that were there. and had a few beers with those guys one night at the bowling alley, which was pretty cool. Those guys are wild, I'll say to anything. I thought the Germans were partiers. Oh no, they really can't hold a beer to a Canadian. Oh yeah, those guys are criminal drinkers. But they're a wonderful bunch of people. Oh my God, they were just great guys. So with everything in a motor pool, you can't just, even though it's got a big 6 to 10 foot high fence all around, 8 foot probably, 8 foot fence all around it, you still had to pull guard duty on it, unfortunately. So when we shipped our stuff down in the backs of our 5-ton trucks, we also brought our mountain bikes because, we knew the deal. We knew what was going to happen. So, you get stuck at guard duty, and instead of walking, a couple 3 miles down there to where your tanks were parked in the motor pool, you just jump on your mountain bike and you get right there real quick. So I got tasked for guard duty. Luckily, mine was always during the daytime. And so we rode our mountain bikes down there, relieved the other guard. They took our bikes back, and when it comes time, or took one of our, took the bikes back, and then the next guards at a certain time will take our bikes back to us, and they'll relieve us, and we'll ride our bikes back. So you really didn't have to walk around too far. And that way you could also, when you ended your guard duty shift, you could just ride to the snack bar and get something to eat, or if it was chow time, you could go get dinner or whatnot. But anyways, luckily for me, I had daytime shifts, and the motor pool was surrounded. The motor pool was paved. The road leading up to it was dirt though, and it was off the main drag, maybe 100 yards or so, tucked in a beautiful spot in the pines and the ferns. It was really nice. All our tanks were parked in a neat row, all our armored personnel carriers, the Humvees and stuff like that. And you would just more or less sit there for 2 hours, with another guy, and you didn't have all your gear on. You didn't need to. Your weapons were in the arms room and all that kind of stuff. So, but there wasn't a lot to do, so you just hang around and BS and smoke and joke. So that afternoon, we were sitting there, and we heard what we thought were pigs coming, and which was cool, because it was kind of fun watching them sometimes. So there's a little building there, a little tiny shack, and then all our tanks are online here, and all the wheeled vehicles were sitting there, and we usually just sit on top of a Humvee that was right by the front gate, which was just 2 big wide chain link gates that you open up, let the tanks in and out, and then you just shut with a hasp. And we kept it closed because we didn't want anything coming in the motor pool. And we're sitting there, we heard the pigs come. We're like, okay. And off to our left, here comes this little group of pigs. There were just a couple of smaller sows with the piglets and stuff like that, but it was kind of cool watching them. And so the guy with me just kind of chucked a little rock over there by the fence to see what happened. And it hit the fence and went ping, and the pigs jumped, and we're looking around what's going on. He stood up and got off the Humvee and walked over to the fence, and the pigs saw this, and these were smaller females, and the pigs kind of scattered. It's no biggie. He thought it was a riot though. I know better, because I know what these stupid things can do. So anyways, it's a little later on, it's getting close to the end of our shift, and we're sitting there, just called back on the radio, say, just to remind the next guard change to come and relieve us. So we're sitting there, and we heard pigs come again, this time from the right side. Nothing of it, think nothing of it. So we look over, and then in the pines, there's all these big ferns, and the ferns started moving quite a bit. And so there's a sizable group of pigs coming through the ferns towards us, which is fine. They usually just parallel the fence because they're heading to the golf course on Grafenwehr, and in their attempt to piss all the German workers off, because I'll tell you, those pigs used to rip that golf course up. And those German Service Corps guys, they would go out there every frickin' morning and repair all the damage the pigs did. And that golf course always looked really nice. And Graff was just an outstandingly beautiful place, my goodness. But so as we're sitting there, here comes this group of pigs. And this is not like the first. This must have been this group's parents, because these were the big ones. And these are the ones that really absolutely terrified me. And sure enough, there was probably 5 or 6 big old girls. And I'm talking to my the soldier with me. I'm like, do not dick with these. Do not dick with them. He's like, why? The gate's closed. I said, just please humor me. Just don't mess with these guys. So here they come. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 big, full-grown hogs. I mean, these are, to us, they look like St. Bernards. They were big. And then they had this huge line of piglets behind it. And I'm like, oh boy. So anyways, the knucklehead I was with, he wasn't listening to what I said anyways. I mean, and so he's going to screw with them. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we're sitting there, and we were both standing up next to the Humvee, and we're just going to watch him go by. So what does he do? He actually kind of runs towards the main gate, the gate to the motor pool, and then jumps up and then stomps and stops right at the gate and goes, wah, like that. He thought it was funny. The boars did not. And what I tried to tell him is that when the boars are kind of, when they're just by themselves, you know, they won't do too much, and they won't be so aggressive. But when they have all those lines of piglets, all those little piglets with them, they are ferocious. So as he did that, wah, to try to scare the pigs, that's when all hell broke loose. The piglets went everywhere, and they were bouncing into the fence trying to get away, doing all this kind of stuff. And the big pigs kind of jumped up a little bit and then stood their ground. What's going on, right? What's going on? And then he wasn't moving. He would just stand there like that. And he goes, turns around and looks at me. He goes, see, they ain't going to do nothing. Then the pigs realized he was there. I believe it was like the 2 in the back. The 3 or 4 of them were out in front of the fence already. There was 2 on the other side, just at the fence, but not by the gate. Those 2 were the first ones. I don't know if they were males or what the hell they were, but they came and they hit that fence, and that chain link fence just bowed in, whoop, and they hit hard. And I'm like, oh my God. And the other ones at the fence, at the gate, 2 of them charged at the same time towards him. And that huge double gate bowed in. I mean, it bowed in, and I thought it was going to break. And I could not believe the power on these stupid things. Once this happened, the gate almost, the twin gates almost hit him, and he comes running. I mean, yeah, he thought it was funny before, but the look on his face said otherwise when he was running back to the Humvee. So I get my ass up on top of the Humvee. He runs and jumps, and I mean, he pretty limber because he jumped, lifted his leg up, and he got on top of the Humvee. He didn't have to climb. He jumped up on top of the Humvee. And those pigs proceeded to keep hitting that gate, hitting that gate, hitting that gate. And they finally, after a while, realized that the threat that he posed is no longer there. And so they calmed down a little bit. But the gate, I think one of the hinges actually broke on the gate, or something happened to it, because the gate wasn't sitting very well. I doubt it was from the smacking of it by those pigs. But anyways, the pigs finally left. But, well, they left the front of the gate, but they were still there. They remained in this little wooded area right there, and you could hear them plain as day. They weren't going anywhere. And so my little friend's stunt cost us another 2 hours on guard duty. Because of the pigs aren't afraid of anything. And we rode our bikes in here. The pigs would charge a bike. If you were too close to it, the pigs would charge you. I mean, it's charged Humvees before, and it would slap into the side of a Humvee. They're not scared of anything. So unfortunately, we had to get on the radio, and we had to call back to the unit, you know, and give them a call sign, blah, 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 blah. And we told them to cancel, you know, for the time being, cancel the gate guards, swap out. And they asked why. I said, well, there's a large group of boar out in the front gate and they're not leaving. And I said, we'll get back to you once they clear out so we can get switched out. And they said, okay, that's fine and dandy. Wouldn't you know it, those that group of pigs sat there in that little spotch of forest right there, right by the front gate. They must have stayed there for 2 more hours. And so we got stuck pulling 4 hours of gate duty at the motor pool because of those stupid pigs. Well, actually, because of that stupid soldier's little stunt tried to scare them. Yeah, that wasn't very good. But that's my last story on the German pigs. And God forbid if that gate would have come apart, or, I mean, we only had it shut by the little hasp that would come down, and that's all it was shut by. And had those things hit it any harder, I'm afraid that gate probably would have came open, and we would have had some real big problems. Because if those pigs got into the motor pool, how are you going to get them out? You can't bully them, you can't push them around, you can't kill them. If you kill them, you're going to pay for them. If you kill one pig, you're going to pay for that pig, and then several families of pigs that might have later in the future, you're going to pay for. I mean, you got charged for stuff like you cut down a tree or knock down a tree. You have to pay for that tree. So once they got into your motor pool, you were screwed until they left on their own accord. But that's my story, and I'm Todd, the cheap drums guy, and wish me luck trying to improve myself a little bit. But I think this could be kind of fun, and now I'm like a regular YouTube drummer with just a little tiny 4-piece kit. But anyways, again, I'm Todd, the cheap drums guy, and I'm going to do that walk to the camera thing. You guys have a great day, and stay away from the pigs.